This content is produced as part of the Move Africa project, commissioned by the African Union Commission and supported by GIZ. The views and opinions expressed are those of the authors only and do not necessarily reflect those of GIZ or the African Union.
I love nature, and anything attacking it automatically becomes my enemy. Whenever I think of endangered plant and animal species in our planet, I go crazy. It is what drives me to do what I can to save it. These are the words of Caroline Chebet, a Kenyan journalist based here in Kenya. Chebet has remarkable love and passion for nature. This is clear from her journalistic work on conservation, environment, climate change, agriculture, and wildlife, which dates back to over a decade. In the year 2021, in what started as curiosity on wildlife trafficking, Chebet stepped into what has spiraled into wildlife conservation milestone. There was no way that she could have known that her inquiry into how the endangered African grey parrot could be trafficked from the Democratic Republic of Congo to Kenya through Uganda could influence policy on the bird's conservation and protection. Her investigative reporting has been propelled by the free movement of persons across Africa, which is a vital part of the African integration together with the African Passport, one of its flagship projects of Agenda 2063. With this goal in mind, African leaders in January 2018 at the African Union Assembly adopted the protocol to the treaty establishing the African Economic Community relating to free movement of persons, right of residence and right of establishment. This has not only allowed journalists to conduct research, investigate and report, it has also opened gateways for training and job opportunities. Chebet takes us through her investigative journalism journey.
My name is Caroline Chebet. I am a writer with the Standard Media Group based here in Kenya. I've been in the media for over 10 years now. For the years I've been in the media, I've been writing majorly on conservation, on health, on science, agriculture, and climate change. And throughout the period, I've written for several publications, including, besides the Standard, I've written for several publications, including Mongabe. I've also written for publications like the EU Observer. I've written for the Independent in the UK, Mail and Guardian, among other publications. I have also majored in investigative journalism, where I investigate on issues, especially across Africa, beyond East Africa. I write on, I mostly investigate on wildlife issues. Being a wildlife enthusiast and a writer who majors mostly on conservation, I realized that there's a lot of trafficking going on and very little is reported on, especially on the small species, the little species that usually go underreported. And one of those species is the African grey parrot. The African grey parrot is the world's most trafficked bird, but very little has been written about it. So investigating the African grey parrot was a really interesting piece, given that there was very little information that had been done. So I had to dig through a lot of literature to really get into what goes on, what is not being told. And I mapped out the areas I would visit, especially in Africa. Since the bird is heavily trafficked in Congo, in Nigeria, in Rwanda, and Kenya and Uganda, I had to map out those areas and come up with the sources who I will interview, especially those who have been advocating for the conservation of this bird in Senegal. So I worked with several organizations like the World Parrot Trust. They are based in Senegal, in West Africa generally. So I also mapped areas in Uganda because the numbers are larger in Uganda compared to Kenya. So I had to work with the World Animal Protection in Kenya and Uganda. So I think that is the basic thing was mapping out these areas and coming up with sources from, especially in Africa. Free movement, especially within Africa, has really eased our work as journalists, because for an investigative journalist, you can wake up any other day and travel to the country which you want to base your investigations in. Like when I was investigating the African grey parrot, it was easier to move into Uganda and see what is currently happening there, what is being done, meet with the sources in Uganda. It was also easier to link up with the sources in West Africa to know how this trade is happening. Moving across the continents has also enabled us as investigative journalists to team up in investigative pieces, cross-border investigations, where a journalist can move from another country into the country I am in, and I can move so that we can actually compare how things are being done in these countries.